Hello and welcome to the webinar. Today we're going to be talking about the topic, build your brand now to protect against a recession later. This is an interesting topic. We'll talk a little bit about recessions. We'll talk about what's going to happen. Maybe you know, maybe I know, I don't know. We'll see who knows what's going to happen. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to compare this a little bit against the pandemic that happened in 2020. Had a lot of contractors coming to me over here at Level 10 Contractor looking for solutions when everything that their business was built on sort of shut down. They weren't able to do it anymore. Not saying that a recession is exactly like that, but there are some similarities. So we're going to go through this, talk about building your brand to protect against a recession later. So let me tell you who the sponsors are for today's webinar. We've got, let's see, CCN, Destination Motivation, Contractor Appointments, Fox Quilt, Billy.com. We'll be hearing about some of these companies as we go through the webinar. I would like you, if you don't mind, do me a favor, take a moment, reach out via email, phone, probably email's easier. Thank the sponsor that invited you to this webinar, because without these sponsors and these partners, there would be no webinar. So thank you to these folks for participating, and thank you for showing up for today's webinar. All right, I'm going to tell you a story to get us started here. I debated showing you the video. It was a little bit long, so I'm just going to tell you the story. This is an experiment that happened in the 1980s. You can tell by the quality of the video, the clothing of the students in the classroom. This teacher did an experiment. She passed out a piece of paper to all of the students in the classroom. There were 6 rows. You can see 3 of them right here. She passed them all out a piece of paper and said, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take these words and I want you to create anagrams. Okay, so the first word was bat. And she said, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to only focus on the first word, bat. I want you to create an anagram, write it down on a piece of paper. And so sure enough, that was pretty easy. An anagram for bat would be tab. This is a screenshot from the actual video. This is a quicker version of giving you this story. So the kids were able to write the word tab, then they went to the second word. And she asked them, when you get the word, when you have the anagram, raise your hand. And you can see here it's an image, it's a screenshot of the entire right side of the room raising their hand to indicate that they have solved this anagram. Bat becomes tab. Now you can see here on the left side of the room, however, we've got students that are still working on it. They don't have the answer, including this guy right here towards the back. He's looking over there like, hey, what the heck? How are those guys all getting this? This isn't that easy. So here's what happened. Actually, she gave the students on the left side of the room a different set of 3 words. Their first word was whirl, W-H-I-R-L. Remember, the first set of students, their word was tab, which was very easily reconstructed into bat. Turns out the word whirl is not an anagrammable word. In other words, there's no solution. It's impossible. When they went to the second word on the right-hand side of the classroom, their second word was melon, which becomes lemon, or the other way around, I can't remember. The second word, the second set of students were given the word slapstick, which also is an unsolvable anagram. So here's what happened. They couldn't get the answer and they were confused. So all of the students on the right-hand side were easily getting the anagram solved. All of the students on the left-hand side were like, hey, what's going on? And you can see again, this guy here, he's got his hand up. He's looking over there like, how do they have it? How is this so easy for them? So then the third word, I'm going to go back 2 slides. The third word, the third word was cinerama for both lists. Okay, so on the left side of the room, whirl, slapstick, and then cinerama. On the right-hand side of the room, bat, lemon, and also the word cinerama. Now here's what happened. Predictably, or maybe, I don't know, maybe it was predictable. I thought it was predictable. The students on the right-hand side of the room who had easily solved the anagram for bat and lemon were very easily able to solve the third one, which is America. Okay, America. I think it's America. Pretty sure it's America. Americana. Anyway, American. That's what it was, American. I'm not that good at anagrams. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side of the room, the students who had been given impossible tasks, whirl and slapstick, unsolvable anagrams, they also struggled mightily to solve the third anagram, which is cinerama, which is American. Okay, so then the teacher asked the students, well, how did you feel about this? And particularly the students on the left. And the students on the left said things like, I felt stupid, I felt rushed, I felt confused, my confidence was shot. okay? And this is something called learned helplessness. We put people in a situation where they fail, they fail, they fail, and then when things are actually solvable and doable, their brain tells them, I can't do this, and they fail, even though it is a solvable situation. Now, this can be applied to all kinds of situations. They were doing it in this classroom in the video. If you want to go to YouTube, you can search for it. Just look for Learn Helplessness Classroom. You'll see the video. It'll pop up. You can watch the whole thing. It's about 6, 7, 8 minutes long. That's why I condensed it for our purposes. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. They were learning this concept of learned helplessness in the context of social environment at high school. But for our case, we're going to talk about it in terms of recession. Now, here's the question. Do you think that how you feel about a recession can affect your performance in a recession? The answer, hopefully you're catching on, is yeah, I think it can. We're going to get to that in just a minute. Before we do that, let me go back and do a couple of introductions of our sponsors. I want to introduce you to CCN, Contractor Appointments, and Destination Motivation. First of all, we'll visit a few others later on in the webinar. And I'm going to actually launch a poll. I'm going to tell you about these companies. And if you're interested in learning more, all you have to do is simply click on whichever you're interested in. And that poll is now open. You can see it right there on your screen. CCN, this is a company that provides comprehensive range of benefits tailored to elevate your home remodeling company and to help you do things like better sales, better financial management, better business management, better marketing management. And they do this by creating classes, seminars, events, things like that. So here's what they do. They have CCN, Certified Contractors Network. It's a membership-based organization, and you can then show up to their different training events. You can get support. And I'm going to tell you, I have seen so many of the clients that Level 10 Contractor works with over the years benefit so much from this organization, CCN. It is a phenomenal organization. And if you're looking for marketing, sales, production, systems, CCN is going to help you achieve those goals. They've got mastery classes. They've got industry conferences. They also have personalized coaching. Go check them out at CCN. Well, don't Google CCN because that's going to be, CCN, it's an acronym. Just go to contractors.net, contractors, plural.net, learn about CCN, or just click on the poll, Certified Contractors Network. The second one is Contractor Appointments. This is an interesting company. Everybody's looking for more leads, and I'm going to be talking about leads today a lot. And this is a company that doesn't just sell leads, which there's a lot of companies out there that sell leads, but these guys do something different, which is they actually set appointments for you. Now, appointments, I think everybody would agree, probably better than just a lead. So if you want appointments, okay, they're going to generate leads, book appointments. They do book the appointment. They do sell only leads, but most of their clients do the appointment facet of their business. And you only have to pay for the opportunities you have to actually go out and estimate. Your customers get a branded experience by booking appointments with your company's specific brand. Contractor Appointments uses performance-based pricing, so you only pay per appointment or per sale. You can choose. They've got some options there. And it's pay as you go, no minimums, no contracts, no setup fees. Pretty good deal. Go check this out, Contractor Appointments. And you can find them at contractorappointments.com. Third partner sponsor I want to talk to you about is Destination Motivation. I've known these guys for, I don't know, 2-3 years now. Really, really cool product. They've got vacation vouchers that you can purchase from them at a very significant discount and then give away to your customers or prospects as an incentive to do business with your company. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can use these. You can use them as incentives. Set an appointment, we'll give you this. You can do it with the purchase. If you make this purchase today, you can use it to close the deal, get them over the hump. It's going to give them a 7-day trip to, I can't remember. It's lots and lots of destinations. This is not a timeshare presentation thing. Those have existed in the remodeling industry years and years ago. This is completely different. This is actually a real trip that you give to your people. It's really, really effective at closing deals. And also, here's what they're finding. They're finding that it's effective at reducing rescission. So go learn more about these guys, Destination Motivation. You can just Google that, Destination Motivation, or you can go to increaseoursales.com. That's O-U-R, increaseoursales.com. And there you go. That is the first 3 of our 5 sponsors and partners that we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to close that poll and we're going to move on to talking about the recession. Okay. Well, before we do that, let me tell you who I am so you know who you're talking to, who's talking to you today. Level 10 Contractor. My name is Rich Harshaw. I'm the founder of the company, wrote a book. I'll show you that in a second. I'm the CEO of the company right now. We started in 1994. Yes, that is 30 years ago as a general marketing agency. We worked with all kinds of companies, manufacturers, insurance companies, diamond sellers, lots of different things. One of my first clients was a very major roofing company in Fort Worth, Texas. And we've been specializing in remodeling and home services since about 2005. So you can see about 11 years we were kind of general marketing, doing some other things, and then really got involved heavily with remodeling in 2005. And that's what we've been doing ever since. We also work with home services, HVAC, things like that. We've worked with some of the biggest and most successful companies in this industry, names that you would definitely know. And we also work with smaller companies though, 2 to 10, 2 million to 10 million, that's kind of the sweet spot. Although any size of company we're open to working with. And here's what we do. Level 10 Contractor is an agency. We work with contractors to build websites, to do search engine optimization, also digital advertising and traditional advertising. And I'm going to talk a lot today about traditional advertising, TV and radio. So get ready for that conversation as we go through this today. Wrote a book called Unlocking Unlimited Lead Flow. You can see this is geared specifically at remodeling contractors and home services companies. You can check that out on Amazon. Also, though, a fantastic resource for you, Level 10 Contractor Daily Podcast. It's on all the major podcasting platforms. It's a daily podcast. I've been doing it for nearly 5 years. It'll be 5 years next month. That's over 1,800 episodes. Any marketing situation that you have any kind of question or idea or just anything you want to know, go look in that podcast feed. You will find your answers, including we will be running this recording of this podcast, I think next week on, I think Tuesday. I'm not going to look, but just see it. All right. One thing that I did want to make available to you, free website audit. We are going to talk about websites towards the end of today's webinar. I want to encourage you, if you have a website, which I'm sure you do, you're going to take out your phone and use the QR code right now or go to level10audit.com. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at your website. We're going to give you an idea how it's doing against the concepts of identity, which I'll talk about at length here in just a moment. And also from an SEO standpoint, how well is your website doing at driving organic traffic to your website? If you're not getting at least 50 organic leads, actual leads per month from your website, then you need to do this website audit right now. Fill it out. It'll ask you to set a time to meet with us. We'll put together the audit. We'll go through it with you. It'll be very, very informative and give you some good ideas of how you can do better in terms of generating actual leads, organic leads, people that are looking for what you sell online. So go to level10audit.com to do that. Now, question, back to the recession. Are we headed for a recession? The answer is nobody knows. Most of the factors, in fact, that have to do with the recession are out of our hands. There's not a lot we can do about it. But here's what they're saying right now. Even though today we're not in a recession, the trajectory of the US is one of a slowdown, whether payrolls, the unemployment rate, layoffs, they all point to a slowdown in employment. And when an employment slowdown happens, that's when you start having recession, okay? So I don't know if this is gonna happen in the near future. I don't know if it's gonna happen next year. I don't think anybody really knows. But here's the real question. So what? Okay, so there's a recession. Well, let's do this. Let's take a look at the last recession, 2008. That was a biggie. Remember that one? If you were in business, you definitely remember that. Here's what I found when I did a little bit of research. I found that home improvement spending was up from 1996 to 2006. So this is the 10 years prior to when the downturn started. It actually started at the end of 2007, and then it took full steam in 2008. Here's what I found. It was flat. Spending was flat in 2006, and then it was down a little bit, 2.7% in 07. Then here was the biggie. 2008, it was down 9.6%. That is a significant drop off, almost 10% in 1 year. And that's on top of the 2.7 it went down in 2007. Then 2009, not quite as bad, still down though, 4.4%. Just down a little bit in 2010, then it started going up again every year from 2011 to 2021. Of course, we had the pandemic in there, and that was kind of a weird thing. But here's the point. It went down, and here's what I want you to take away from what you're looking at on the screen here. If you do this, if you take a look at these numbers, here's what you're gonna see. You're gonna see that the maximum amount of what I call drawdown was about 16%. Okay, so look at it this way. Let's say that there was 10,000 jobs in 2006. Okay, now this could be window jobs if you're a window contractor. It could be bathroom remodels if you're a bathroom remodeler. It could be kitchens, whatever it is you happen to sell. And wherever you happen to sell it, let's just say hypothetically that there were 10,000 jobs. 10,000 is just a round number, okay? So don't get hung up on the number. Just go with me here. 10,000 jobs in 2006. This is when it peaked out. Remember, it was flat. So here's what this would look like. In 2007, down 2.7%. That means that in that year, there would only be 9,730 jobs, okay? So there's fewer jobs available because of the recession. 2008, now we're going to go down 9.6% on top of the 2.7, like I said before. So there's only 8,500 jobs left out of the 10,000 that there were 2 years ago in this example, 2006. Then we get to 2009, it goes down another 4.4% on top of the other 2 years. So now we're down to 8,400. 2010, it's down just a little bit. So we go down to 8422, but then it started going up again in 2011. So here's what I want you to see. Even at the maximum amount down, it was only down about 16%. Now, check this out. Check this out. Let's say that there were 10,000 jobs in 2006. Okay, so look at the chart here, 2006. If there were 10,000 jobs, if you had 5% market share, I'm not saying you had 5% market share or you should have 5% market share or that you want to have 5% market share. I'm saying look at this as a chart. It's a hypothetical example. If you did have 5% market share in 2006 when there were 10,000 jobs, that means you would have had 500 jobs, 5% of 10,000, 500 jobs, okay? Adjust numbers according to what you were actually doing. But here's where I really want to go with this. In 2007, when it started going down, okay, if you stayed at 5%, you would go all the way clear down to 421 jobs. So you would see a decrease in your business. But if you could somehow manage to get 6%, then look at this. You're going to go up. You're actually going to increase your business every year, even though there's a recession happening. And if you can get it from 5% up to 6 or 7 or 8 or 9%, check this out. 2010, if you've got 9% instead of 5% market share, you're doing 758 jobs. You can actually grow during the recession. Now, you're going to have to take that business from somebody else. They may not be that happy about it, but guess what? That's their problem. Your problem is figuring out how to position yourself now so that if there's a recession next year or later this year or the following year, you're well prepared to jump your market share from whatever it is now, let's say 5% in the example, to 6, 7, 8, 9%, and actually grow your business and come out ahead despite the fact that the market, look, are we going to have a 16% decrease in jobs over the next 2, 3, 4 years? Unlikely. I mean, it's possible, but it's unlikely. But even if we do, all you've got to do is you got to get your market share up so that the number of jobs you have goes up, your revenue goes up, your profit goes up, even in a downturn. Now, that's easy to say, it's hard to do. That's why we're here. We've got about 45 minutes left to talk about how do we actually accomplish that. Well, here's the roadmap. Number one, build an identity-based brand in the marketplace. I'll tell you how to do that in just a moment. Number two, start to invest in farming in addition to hunting. I'll define those terms and give you some context for that in just a moment. Number three, extend your branding into your website. And then number four is going to be strategically build up troops in online battles. All of this will become crystal clear as I go through these concepts. This is our plan. Right now, get your phone out and take a little photo of the, what do you call it? The screenshot so that you can follow along. You can have this later, okay? This is what we're gonna be talking about. So let me give you another story. And this is another story that involves trickery. This is an experiment that was done in Germany about 10 or 12 years ago. Here's what they did. They brought people in, they hooked these electrodes up to their face. You know, you put these little things on your temples, on your forehead, and they're checking for your brain activity. And they gave them 4 different colas to drink. They gave them Coke, Pepsi, and then this third one is a store brand that was local there in Germany. And then the fourth one was one that they told the people in the experiment, this is a test brand. We haven't released it yet, but we want to get feedback and see, you know, what you experience. So here's what they did. They drank each of the 4 different ones in turn, and then they monitored to see what happened with their brainwaves. And here's what they found. When they drank Coke or Pepsi, which are known brands for 100 or more years, they found that the pleasure center in people's brain would light up. In other words, their brain was interpreting drinking these 2 soda brands as a pleasurable experience. However, when they were drinking the other 2, the store brand and the brand that was a quote unquote test brand, they found that their pleasure center in their brain did not light up. Here's what did light up. It was what they call the values judgment portion of their brain, which in other words means your brain was trying to figure out, is this good? Do I like it? Is this a reward? Is this delicious? Is this not delicious? And it was trying to make your brain was trying to make value judgments. Now, like the anagram story earlier, it was actually a setup and it was a trick, because here's what really happened in that experiment. They actually took all 4 of the different sodas, they poured them all together so there was just one homogeneous type or flavor, and they poured it into 4 different cups, and they told them it was Coke and Pepsi and store brand and test brand, but it was actually just the same concoction in all 4 cups. And here's the takeaway, hopefully is obvious to you with this short little goofy story. When people think they're drinking Coke and Pepsi, it lights up the pleasure center, even though it's the exact same beverage as the other 2. And when they think they're drinking the store brand or the test brand, they're trying to figure out if they like it. So this is an illustration of how powerful the brand is. People want to do business with brands that they know, and they want to do business with brands that here comes the big word. You ready for this? What's the word? Trust. Yes, trust. They want to do business with brands that they trust. So what we're doing today is we're talking about how do we create a brand that people trust, so that when things tighten up a little bit, perhaps in the future, they're going to default to buying from the brands that they know and love and trust. Okay, so let's start with this concept, hunting versus farming. Hunting is a process of generating leads by spending money and having somebody sell you a lead. Hunting would be like buying from a lead aggregator or something like that. I'll show you a full list here in just a moment. Farming, on the other hand, is where you're going to plant a seed. It's going to take a minute to germinate, to grow, sunshine, nature, soil, rain, all of that stuff, pesticide maybe, who knows, and it's going to grow, but you're not going to reap the benefits of farming immediately. It's going to take a minute. Okay, so here's what I found. I found that most remodeling companies, by definition, have to start when their companies are small and young and early and not very well funded. They have to start with hunting. Okay, I remember one guy that ran a very successful window company said, yeah, in the early days, him and his partner, they would go out and they would knock doors, and they would find people that they could go sell to that night. And then they would hand their leads off to the other person, and the other person would put on a suit and go introduce themselves as the owner of the company, not the guy that was canvassing, and they would sell each other's leads. It's a very, very much a hunting kind of a process. Now, I'm not saying that hunting is good or bad or right or wrong, and I'm not saying that farming is good or bad or right or wrong. I'm saying that you need to understand the difference, because from a branding standpoint and from a long-term viability of your company and your brand standpoint, you're going to have to start to move some of your marketing dollars from hunting activities into farming activities. I'm not saying that you should not do hunting. I'm not saying that the hunting that you are doing is bad. I'm saying that there's a difference and it matters, okay? So let me give you a couple of companies by way of comparison. These are both companies that I've talked to about marketing projects. The first one was a company in Florida. They were doing 19 million. Here's what they were doing: 2,000 aggregated leads per month. They were buying these and they were giving their salespeople these leads. They were out running these leads. They were very good at managing that many aggregated leads. They were also attending 100+ events per year. So any kind of home show, any kind of gathering of multiple people, the Strawberry Festival, Country Music Festival, anything like that, they would send out a team and they would attend these events, okay? Maybe like your company. Also, they were very aggressive at canvassing. They were doing about $19 million and they were a growing company. Things are going good. Now, meanwhile, we've got another company in Kansas City doing 16 million. This company spent $1 million a year on TV and radio since 2010. They go to 3 or 4 events per year, just the major home shows. They don't go to the smaller ones. And they've built a significant online presence with what I'll call service area pages. I'll tell you what those mean in more detail later on in today's webinar. But here's the point, and here's why I'm showing you this. I'm not telling you that one of these companies is doing it right or the other company is doing it wrong. Clearly, you can see that company 2 has smaller sales, company 1 has bigger sales. But what I am suggesting is that from a branding standpoint, and from a protecting your company in the future standpoint, company 2 is actually much better positioned. Again, I want to be super clear with you. If you are more like company 1, I am not suggesting that you should abandon those things that you're doing. What I am suggesting is that you should consider some of these farming tactics like company 2 on your screen is doing that will help protect you in the event of a recession, because you're going to build a brand that is going to be very, very valuable. Also, I want you to think about this in terms of, hey, do you ever plan on selling your company? If you do plan on selling your company at some point in the future, the stronger your brand is, the more money you're going to get for your company. It matters. Okay. So let me tell you about the hierarchy of leads. The most important leads, the best leads you can get are going to be repeat customers or referrals. Everybody knows that. We're not going to have a conversation about that right now. But then we come in with this. Events, branded. Now, here's what I mean by a branded event. This is when somebody shows up to the home show, they see you, they recognize you because they have exposure to your company over time through your advertising, and they want to do business with you, so they go to you specifically at the home show. Also, same thing, advertising, branded advertising. If you get a lead from somebody that has seen you on TV or heard you on radio for a long time over the course of 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and they call you, they're already going to have a good idea of who you are, how you're different, why you're better, what they can expect when they do business with you. So this is a very desirable lead. Number 3, organic online search. Organic search has been proven over and over again is these leads are better quality than the pay-per-click search. Now, did I just tell you that you don't want to do pay-per-click? Of course I did not say that. I'm just telling you that the research shows that organic search leads are higher quality than non-organic online search. Okay, then we get into the next tier, which is unbranded events. This is somebody that shows up at the home show and they're walking around and they see your company and they say, oh, there's somebody, let me go talk to them. Hey, that's a great lead. Anybody would want to have that lead, but it's not as good of a lead as the branded event lead. Same thing goes for pay-per-click and aggregated leads. You'll see that these are lower on the hierarchy. These are not as good as the ones above them. Now, when I say not as good, here's what I mean. Let me be very, very specific. I mean, these are leads, the higher on the list, the more likely they are to convert into an actual sale. Unbranded events, the reason that's above pay-per-click is because, hey, they're at an event and you can talk to them face-to-face. You need to trade them face-to-face. And then at the very bottom, we've got unbranded advertising. This is your ad that runs that does not have your name on it or is only strictly offer oriented. I'll talk about that in just a moment, okay? Canvassing also at the very bottom of the list. And here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying, hey, if you're doing canvassing, that's the dumbest thing you could do. I'm not saying that. A lot of very successful canvassers out there. I'm saying that when you knock on somebody's door, they don't know who you are, they've never heard of you, and you're trying to get into their house and get an appointment, it's hard. It's a lower quality lead. I'm not saying don't do it. Please take everything I'm saying in the proper context of how I'm giving it to you, okay? This is a hierarchy of leads. Selling to friends, easier, more profitable than selling to strangers. That's one way to sum it up, okay? Now, why do so many contractors stick to hunting instead of going into farming? Number one, they're addicted to fast, cheap leads, especially companies that have mastered the art of speed to lead and actually working these leads. Typically going to be bigger companies that are a little bit more sophisticated. They tend to do better with aggregated type leads and lower on the hierarchy type leads, canvassing leads, for example. Also, a lot of companies want to be able to track everything to the penny. We know exactly how much we spent on this, that, and the other. We know exactly how many sales we got. We know our closing ratios. Everything is trackable. You start spending money on farming, and it starts to be difficult to measure how much return you're getting. And that bothers some marketing departments and owners of these companies. They think that farming is too expensive. Usually that is what we will call, this is a callback now to the beginning of the webinar. Usually that's going to be based on what I call learned helplessness. We tried advertising on the radio and TV before and it didn't work, so therefore it doesn't work. No, you were just doing it wrong. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. We tried it, it didn't work. Here's the result. You spend money on marketing, you get sales, but nobody knows who you are when you're doing hunting. Think about that company that's buying 2,000 aggregated leads per month. They're going to have very, 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 very little recognition in the marketplace. Meanwhile, I'll tell you this, that company that was doing, I think it was 16 million in Kansas City, that's one of my clients. I fly in to see them and help them with TV commercials about once every year, sometimes twice a year. And if I'm ever flying in and I'm sitting on the airplane and I strike up a conversation with a stranger next to me, they say, hey, are you from Kansas City? Yeah, I'm from Kansas City. Oh, do you know this company? And the company's called Jericho. And they always know Jericho because they've seen them on TV. They've heard them on the radio. That's the power of the brand. And when it comes time for them to remodel their kitchen or their bathroom, they start to think, maybe, just maybe, I'll call this company that I have trust in because I know them and I've heard of them. Now, here's why you might want to lean into some farming. Number one, it'll bring you a steady stream of qualified leads, lower overall marketing costs overall. Now, this is going to take some time to build up, and I'll show you how to get started here in just a minute. You can charge higher prices when you've got branded leads, people that know who you are. Again, to use the example of the company I just mentioned, Jericho, their prices are very, very high relative to the marketplace, and they get it because people trust them because they know their brand. They know who they are, how they're different, why they're better, what people can expect when they do business with them. It also becomes easier to weather the downturns, again, because now you're dealing with people who want to think about what happens in a recession, okay? I want you to think about this very carefully. In the last recession, I think at peak unemployment, I think it only got to like 10 or 12%, which is a lot, but I think baseline is like 4.5%. So if you go to 10%, 12%, that's a lot of unemployment. But here's the problem. It's not the unemployed people, because unemployed people aren't gonna buy from you. They don't have money. But here's what else is happening. There's this whole other group of people that is afraid that they might become unemployed, or they're just very uncertain about the future, their own personal financial future. So uncertainty leads to a pullback in buying, okay? If you think about it, it's just logical. I'm not saying I'm an economist or anything like that. I'm just saying, think about it, it makes sense. And here's what's gonna happen. When people start to pull back because of uncertainty, they're going to seek out as much certainty as they can. And if they see a company, a brand that they know, that they've seen for 5, 10, 15 years on the TV, on the radio, they're going to flock to these companies in droves because that certainty factor is much higher than an unknown guy that's just knocking on your door saying, hey, do you need new windows? Again, let me be clear. I'm not saying that buying aggregated leads or pay-per-click leads or canvassing, doing canvassing is a wrong or a bad thing. I'm just asking you to make a differentiation about different kinds of leads and the quality of those leads. That's all I'm asking you to do. Makes your business more attractive to potential buyers. Like I mentioned earlier, the result, people will seek you when they're ready to buy. When they're ready to buy, they're going to come looking for you. That's what we're trying to accomplish today. Having people look for you on their own accord, okay? Now, let's talk about how to create a brand story. What I found is that most marketing is full of platitudes and prices. Platitudes, words, phrases that are drearily commonplace, predictable, lack power to evoke interest through overuse and repetition, that are nevertheless stated as though they are original or significant. This is a bad way to do your advertising. Now, I'm going to pause here and I'm going to make a comment and I'm going to make a point that I want you to really think about hard over the next 10, 15 minutes as we go through the rest of this webinar. Most companies put very little thought into the content of their advertising and marketing. They're more worried about, hey, I've got to spend a budget. I need to go buy a bunch of leads. We need to go do some canvassing. Oh, let's get somebody to come in and train our canvassers so that they're as good as they can possibly be. But we don't really think much about the quality of the message. And I want you to know that what you say in your ads has a profound impact on how well those ads actually work. Keep that in mind as we go through this. Okay, so you might say things like, we've got the best products, best service, we've been in business since 1431 BC. Also, a lot of ads are based on just prices and offers. Buy one, get one free, 40% off the second window, 0% financing. Here's the problem with this. You're training your audience to buy from you because you're cheaper. And I've seen a lot of companies that go down this road and they get very discouraged by the price sensitivity that their prospects have, but it's because they've been training them to be price sensitive. It doesn't make any sense. Hey, you should buy from us because we'll give you the best deal. And then you're more expensive. They're like, hey, you're expensive. You're like, hey, you're broke. What's your problem? Like, well, you set this up. It was your fault. It was your fault. I'm going to show you how to overcome this, okay? It starts with this concept on your screen. Take a picture of this. It's really, really important. Identity, words, phrases, and images articulated with power, precision, and passion that instantly, definitively communicate who you are, how you're different and better, and what customers can expect when doing business with you. This identity. Take a photo of your screen right now, screenshot it if it's on your phone, and take this and print it out, look at it, memorize it. This right here is where the rubber hits the road and what we're talking about today, identity. So you got to create an identity. How do you do this? Well, think about your company. There's certain things that you do really well. There's reasons that your customers love you. The key is to identify what those things are and then articulate them in a way that makes them come alive. You got to story tell. You have to help the prospects visualize your advantages. You have to find and then tell your story, okay? Now I'm gonna give you some examples of this in just a minute to make it come alive for you. So hang on, and we'll do that in just a minute. But first, let me show you this. It's a concept called identity. 5 pillars of identity, I'll put them on the screen. You've got to look at your company from a product standpoint, a workmanship standpoint, bedside manner standpoint, core value standpoint, what I call culture and reputation standpoint. You've got to look at these identity points that are on the screen under each of these sections. You've got to figure out where is it that your company excels. Identify 3 from each of these pillars, then find stories, examples, and comparisons to talk about this. Now, again, I'm going to show you some examples of this in just a minute. So hold on, I'll show you these examples and you'll go, oh, okay, this makes sense. But this is also a very important slide. If you want to take a picture of this, I'd really encourage you to study this later. Look at these 5 different pillars of identity and find out and identify where it is that your company really does well and excels. Now, you might look at these points and think, well, we do well on, most of these or all of these or a lot of these. Well, I want you to really focus in on 3 from each pillar. And then again, what we're going to do is find stories, examples, and comparisons, and we're going to put them into the ads themselves, okay? So if we do this properly, the identity becomes the hub of all your marketing, becomes the center point, whether it's your website, print ads, online ads, TV, radio, even your website, your SEO are going to be heavily dependent on your identity. Now, I'm going to share with you some examples of these in just a minute, both radio ads and TV ads. Before I do that, let me share with you some information about Billy.com and FoxQuilt. These are 2 more of our sponsor partners, and I'm going to launch a poll for these guys. And go ahead and fill this out. Let me tell you about these guys. Billy, this is an interesting company. They are a lead aggregating company. They're going to sell you leads. They're going to be real-time leads to help connect homeowners with local professionals. But here's what's interesting about these guys. These leads are exclusive and branded. So they're going to only run their ads, typically online, and they're going to only come to you, okay? So this isn't like, hey, we've got this lead and we're gonna sell it to 75 other people and then you're gonna have to try to beat them out with a stick. That's not what this is. This is actually exclusive ads. You can learn more about Billy.com. They've got this really cool dashboard on their website. It's easy to manage. There's no minimums. There's no commitment. It's very easy to self-manage it. Go to Billy.com, and that nerdy guy I think must be Billy. Not really sure. Next one is FoxQuilt. FoxQuilt. This is an insurance company. I did a podcast with these guys, episode 1776. So that's easy to remember. It's like the Declaration of Independence. I actually did it on July 19th. Should have done it on July 4th. Anyway, it didn't work out that way. I want you to go listen to this episode, 1776. It's going to tell you how you can actually use insurance as a competitive advantage in your business by helping people understand what insurance is, why it's important, what's the risk to them as a homeowner if the contractor does not have it. And these guys at FoxQuilt, they're a technology company and an insurance company combined into one. They're going to help you find the best insurance to make sure that everything is covered properly. You can find them at foxquilt.com. Also, you did notice on the poll, if you want to learn more about Level 10 Contractor, TV and radio services, you can go ahead and click that. If you want to learn about Level 10 Contractor websites and SEO, you can click on that, or you can go to level10audit.com like I mentioned earlier. Okay, so let's continue. Let me close that poll out. And we will go to some radio ads, okay? Now remember, the definition of identity, words, phrases, and images that are communicated with power, precision, and passion to help people understand who you are, how you're different, and why you're different, how you're better, and what they can expect when they do business with you. So let's take a look at this first one, or actually we're going to take a listen. This is called Quality Matters, and it's from this company, Jericho. So take a listen.
One of the most common questions we get about kitchen and bathroom remodeling is how much does it cost? But the question you should be asking is how much does it weigh? How much does it weigh? So you can tell a lot about the quality of the kitchen or bathroom by how much the faucet weighs. At Jericho, we only use high quality Moen faucets. They weigh about 10 pounds each. They're solid metal. They look fantastic and they'll last forever. Other remodelers save money by using off-brand plastic faucets that only weigh about 1.5 pounds. 10 pounds versus a pound and a half. If you want a remodeling job that weighs right, call Jericho. Find us online at jerichohome.com. And right now we're offering.
Okay, so you get an idea there. So instead of just coming in and saying, hey, we use high quality materials, we tell this story. How much does it weigh? Ours weigh 10 pounds, theirs weighs a pound and a half. Which do you think is different? Which do you think is better? And this is a way to communicate your identity, your selling advantages in a way that's interesting, in a way that's relevant, in a way that is engaging. And let me tell you something, when you start talking this way on the radio or on the television, people start to pay attention, and it actually really, really works. Let me go to, I'm going to skip one. I'm going to go to deposit hopping. This is a company called Hutcherson. They're in Michigan. Take a listen to this guy. Whoops.
Thinking about a new deck, then you need to know about deposit hopping. Nick here from Hutcherson Construction. Here's how it works. Most contractors require a 50% deposit when you sign the contract, up front, on the spot, which they use to pay for labor and materials for other jobs that they're already working on. When it comes time to build your deck later, they'll try and collect another deposit from somebody else to pay for the labor and materials on your job. It's called deposit hopping. Puts you at risk because they're flying by the seat of their financial pants. At Hutcherson, we never ask for a deposit. You never pay anything until the first day of the job, after the materials have been delivered to your property and the crew is on site, ready to start. For a beautiful deck with no financial risk, call 269.
Okay, so you get an idea here. Deposit hopping, we're explaining things to people that they have no way of knowing. And we're not waiting for a sales appointment to explain this to them. We're telling them upfront in the advertising. I'm going to share one more with you from Hutcherson. Take a listen to this one.
Ever notice how most people never leave online reviews unless they're really mad and they want the entire world to know how bad their experience was? Nick from Hutcherson Construction here. And believe it or not, we only have 5-star reviews. No 4 stars, no 3 or 2 or 1-star reviews. Only 5 stars. I'm serious. Google Hutcherson Construction, click on the reviews, and you'll see that our lowest review is 5 stars. We build Contractors are notorious for over-promising and under-delivering, and yet in 8 years, not a single review less than 5 stars. We treat customers right, we do what we say, we finish on time, and we charge a fair price. We also build the most gorgeous, durable, amazing decks you've ever seen. Want to be our next 5-star customer? Call us for a free estimate at 269-6.
Okay. Now, there's more ads that are in that series. And the idea is you put these ads on the radio, people hear them, they hear the ad about deposit hopping, they hear the ad about 5 stars, they hear ad about your installers, they hear ads about your warranties, your guarantees, and after a very short amount of time, they start to add it all up together and say, wow, if I was interested in a deck or siding or whatever it is you happen to sell, then this is a company that I think I'd like to do business with. When we started doing business with Hutcherson Construction, within the first month of running these ads, they were doing over $200,000 in sales off of a very small radio buy of about $7,000. It's self-evident that it works because people want to do business with companies that they, what's the word? Trust. How do you engender trust? You help them understand who it is you are, what you do, how you're different, and what they can expect when they do business with you. You have to understand that most people have never bought whatever it is that you sell, and as a result, they then need to be educated by you, and that's the point of this identity that I've been talking about. Let me give you one more example here from Class Bully. This is from a roofing company in Seattle. Take a listen.
Ever wondered what became of the class bully from your high school days? Well, he probably became a roofer. Jim Singletary, chief roof nerd here from RoofSmart. The roofing industry is rife with bullies, just like the ones you remember from school. Like a lunch money shakedown, roofing bullies harass, hector, and intimidate you into buying a new roof. They may not stuff you in a locker, but they will twist your arm, exaggerate your issues, and threaten you with phony buy today or else pricing games. RoofSmart is the nerdy, mild-mannered egghead you remember from school. We inspect your roof in obsessive, scientific detail, report our research to you in a thorough, straightforward way, then provide a fair price for the right solution. No pricing games, no bullying, no lunch money shakedown.
Okay, so you get an idea here. We're telling the story in an engaging, relevant, and interesting way. This is a formula that actually works. So if you go back to what we talked about earlier, some of the problems with advertising, platitudes, pricing, discounts, things like that, it tends to not work nearly as well as identity-based advertising where you tell your story. Now let's look at television. Let me show you this series from Solid State Construction. I'll show you a couple of these. Whoops, come back, here we go.
When I was a kid, I was a bookworm, an outright nerd. As an adult, I've turned that nerdiness to siding. I know the geekiest siding science. Concepts like coefficient of thermal expansion. Yep, a nerd. I've analyzed every siding brand, and James Hardie is the best. It's weatherproof, fire resistant, and lasts 3 times longer than vinyl. I won't sell anything but Hardie. And by the way, did I mention it looks beautiful? Call now for a free siding quote and get ready for winter with 10% off.
Okay, so we're setting this guy up as the nerd, and then we go into other commercials that are quite engaging.
Lots of companies say they guarantee you satisfaction, but at Solid State Construction, we've upped the ante. It's our love it or light it promise. If you're not thrilled with our products or services, you don't pay your final invoice. You incinerate it, burn it, light it up. I'll even let you use my flamethrower. It's our love it or light it promise. Only at Solid State Construction. Go to solidstateconstruction.com for details and videos.
All right, and then one more to give you an idea.
Need a quote on siding, roofing, or windows? Beware of the sales gangster. Sales gangsters are the high-pressure muscle companies send to your home. Their goal? Twist your arm until you say yes. Solid State Construction to the rescue. We can't stand sales gangsters. They're the worst. We have project consultants. They're friendly, respectful, and help you achieve your dream. Skip the sales gangster. Call Solid State Construction for siding, roofing, windows, and more.
Okay, so you get an idea how this works, right? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through the 5 pillars of identity, find identity points that map well to your company, and then we're going to tell stories against those. I want you to notice with this roofing nerd, we had one ad that featured a flamethrower, a little bit more masculine, something that men might want to watch a little bit more and think it's kind of fun and cool. Hey, they're burning up the contract. You don't have to pay if you don't, like the final job. And then we've got the one that is more based on the bedside manner, which is low sales pressure. So it's a little bit campy, it's a little bit fun, but man, they work so well when people understand who you are, how you're different, why you're better, what they can expect when they do business with you. You communicate with power, precision, and passion. Here's what happens. It engenders, what's the word again? What's the word? The word is trust. The word is trust. Okay, I've got a few more examples that let me show you this one here.
People ask me all the time, why the name Jericho? Jericho is a story of blind faith. The Israelites roamed the wilderness for 40 years. They crossed the Jordan River into Jericho and into Promise. We started Jericho in the worst recession in 50 years, but we felt there was a higher purpose. More than just kitchens and baths, Jericho is about taking care of others, customers, employees, and most importantly, orphans and abandoned children. It's about blind faith to fulfill a purpose, and that's why we named our company Jericho. Care to join us?
This is identity-based advertising. This is what I'm talking about. Okay, now where do you start with this? Well, you might want to raise your prices a little bit, get good enough at hunting that you can put some capital aside so that you can focus on farming. Start immediately spending 5 to 20% of your marketing budget on farming. I'm going to recommend radio or television. This is something that I can help you with. This is something that you can reach out to us. I'll show you how to do that here in just a moment. Steadily increase your farming budget over time until it's as much as 50% or more of your total marketing budget. Now, again, let me be super clear with you. I'm not saying that the farming things that you're doing, the lead aggregators, the pay-per-click, the events that you're doing, the canvassing that you're doing, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do those things. And I'm not saying that you should discontinue those as you grow into more of a farming-based marketing operation. I'm saying that every time you do something that is farming-oriented, think about this. You're out there running TV. You're out there running radio. People are hearing about your company. They're seeing your love it or light it promise. They're hearing this commercial about how much does it weigh, whatever it is in your particular case. Then your canvasser shows up on their doorstep and they go, oh, that's that company. Trust is already there. You get more leads. You get better leads. You have higher closing ratios. You sell at higher prices. That's how this works. This is what you're trying to accomplish, and it's what you will accomplish if you have an identity-based, farming-oriented marketing program in place, okay? So I don't really want to get into too much of the nuts and bolts of the details of how TV and radio advertising works, but just very quickly to show you, we're going to determine the efficiency of TV and radio by what we call cost per thousand, CPM. M is the Roman numeral for thousand. And here's what we're really looking at. How much does it cost to reach 1,000 people? Our goal is usually about $3 to $8 for adults, $3 for 1,000 people to $8 for 1,000 people. On TV, we buy local news, 1 spot per newscast, Monday through Thursday. On radio, we're looking for a frequency of 2.5 to 3. That means that the average listener who's listening to that station will hear your ads 2.5 to 3 times per week. That's what we're shooting for, okay? We're gonna go on stations that reach older homeowners, but you have to know how to negotiate this stuff. And this is where a lot of people run into problems. If I had the proverbial nickel for everybody that told me, yeah, hey, Rich, we tried this stuff and it didn't work. We tried it, it didn't work. I would have a lot of nickels, because here's what happens. Typically what you're doing is you're buying the wrong stations, you're negotiating poorly, you're buying what I call the poo-poo platter, where the sales rep comes to you and says, hey, look at all this cool stuff in this package, and they package a bunch of stuff up. Most of it is nonsense that is not really beneficial to your advertising goals. And you buy it, you run ads that are very generic, that are not identity oriented, and you don't get any response, and you throw your hands up in exasperation, like the kid at the beginning of this webinar who was on the other side of the room, who had impossible to solve anagrams, and he's looking at the other side who's all got their hands up, who have easily solved the anagrams, and he's saying to himself, how is it that this is working? I can't make this work. And you have very likely looked at this in the past and said, I've tried to make it work. It doesn't really work. It doesn't work. So therefore it can't work. And this is learned helplessness. That's why we started there today, because I want you to understand, as we look at potentially staring into the face of a recession, I've already told you that the recession is probably not going to be as bad as you think it is, but the way to overcome it, the way to make it work to your advantage, is to be the company that has the identity-based brand, get it out there into the marketplace, make sure that people understand who you are, they understand who you are, how you're different, why you're better, trust is engendered, and then when the time comes that they are ready to buy, and remember, even in the 2008 recession, the maximum amount of drawdown was 16%. 84% of the projects were still being bought. You just weren't getting them because you were so convinced that you couldn't solve the anagram. You learned the helplessness. You said, oh my gosh, this recession is killing me. You don't have to be that person. You can be the person that says, no, I'm going to build an identity. I'm going to start right now putting some money into farming. I'm going to start building and engendering trust in the marketplace. And then when things come that are more difficult, I'm going to succeed. My market share is going to go up. I'm going to outcompete the folks that are not doing what we're talking about today. And you're going to be the one that is going to win. You're going to be the one that wins. But you have to do it right. There are 152 different ways to do it wrong, and there are 6 or 7 ways to do it right. And if you're on the wrong side of it, it's going to be a problem, okay? Here's the results. People are going to call you even when your ads aren't running, believe it or not. The reward center in their brain is going to be activated. Remember the Coke example? Competition is going to shrink to a few key players. Organic search rankings are going to go up because people are going to be looking for your company. Google's going to notice that, and they're going to assign a higher domain, what's the word I'm looking for here? Domain score to your website. Closing ratios are going to go up. Sales and profits are going to go up. Your company becomes sellable because you have a formula for selling even in hard times. Now, guess what? What if the recession doesn't come? Boom, you're even more well positioned than your competitors. It doesn't matter. Here's the punchline of this whole thing. I kind of set you up like the teacher set up the students with the anagrams, and the Coke people set their testees up with the mixed up drinks. It doesn't matter if the recession comes or not. It doesn't matter. Your formula for succeeding and getting bigger and more profitable is the same no matter what. It's building an identity-based business, building your brand up, getting on TV and radio so that you can start to get the word out so people know who you are, how you're different, why you're better, what they can expect when they do business with you. And then the very last thing I want to talk about with the last few minutes we have is your website, okay? Your website is critical because every prospect is going to see it. Now think about what's on the screen at the bottom right here. For hunting prospects, it's your only chance to tell your story. Okay, so if you've got a canvassing lead, you better believe it that people are going to go check you out online before they let your salesperson step foot in the house. And if you don't have an identity baked into your website that you're showing them on the card that you're giving them when you set the appointment during the canvassing meeting, you're going to have problems closing that deal. I'm not saying you can't close them. I'm saying that if you do have the identity, you do have it baked into your website, it's going to make your life much, much easier. Okay. So I'm going to show you right now. Let's see here. I'm going to show you sugarmansbath.com website. And I want you to see this. Why us? The Sugarman's Way. This is how we bake the identity into the website. Scroll down here, and we've got information that is linked from all of the different pages on this website to these identity-based pages where we're helping people understand who we are, how we're different, why we're better, what they can expect when they do business with us. Customer first, core values. You start looking at this, you get an idea. Again, I don't have a lot of time to go through this in detail, but I'm going to encourage you, go to sugarmansbath.com and scroll around, go to the YS section, go to the About Us section, go to any of the other sections. I also have a website here called Roof Smart. We heard this ad. Remember the Roofing Bullies ad a minute ago on radio? Same company. Here's what happens. If you go in here and you look at YS, you'll see a YS overview, our story, core values, egghead installation. This is what he was talking about on that commercial, egg-headed roof installation for Greater Seattle. We roof smarter, we roof better, and it explains what this is. Here's what examples are: attic ventilation, gutter, roof gutter handoff, and we show where the leaks normally happen, bathroom ventilation. And we go through and we explain this to people so that they can understand. The more people understand who you are, how you're different, why you're better, what they can expect when they do business with you, the better off you're going to be. You're going to get more leads, and the leads that you get are going to be better. Triple guard warranty. If you look through here, again, I'm going to encourage you to look at these websites. The information on here is highly informative and highly engaging, very well written. This is not your typical website. This website is going to outperform a normal website, i.e. your current website, by a factor of anywhere from 3 to 20 to 1 in terms of organic leads and also conversion, okay? So I'm gonna leave that to you to go take a look at. Meanwhile, I'm gonna jump back here, and I wanna talk about Google's algorithm for the last few minutes that we have, and then I'm going to take any. Here's how Google really works. It doesn't really rank websites, it ranks web pages, okay? So here's what's happening. Google's looking for precise matches for searches. Your job is to create specific pages, keyword pages on your website that are precise match for the different searches, okay? And the key is going to be relevancy. So if people are in Seattle and they're searching for roofing, you've got to make sure that you've got not just roofing pages on your website, but pages that are set up for specific areas, geographic areas, so that Google will see that you've got a page that is relevant for what we call the geo keyword pair that they're searching for. Okay, so let me give you this example. This is a World War II map. My grandfather, he's 99 years old. He fought in World War II. He fought in the Battle of Midway, and then he fought in the Battle of Iwo Jima. Those were the two major battles he was in. I'm bringing this up because I want you to know, when you fight in a war, you don't just go fight the war. Hey, let's go fight a war. No, no, no. You strategically put troops into strategic battles, and you can do the same thing with your website and with your SEO. Okay, so here's how it works. Determine where you want to dominate and what you want to dominate in terms of keywords, and then create pages that are optimized for those geo keyword pairs. Okay, so it might be tub to shower conversions, San Diego, tub to shower conversions, Chula Vista, California, tub to shower conversions, Escondido, California. And then it might be bathroom remodeling, San Diego, bathroom remodeling, Escondido, bathroom remodeling, Chula Vista, California. You've got to create very specific pages for those. These are the troops that you're going to be putting into the battles, and then you have to execute these troops at an elite level, or they're not going to work. It's not enough to just have troops. They have to be well-functioning troops. Now, here's why I'm telling you this. If you're trying to protect yourself against a future recession, you would be very, very well advised right now to start putting these troops into these various battles, so that when people are searching Google in the future for the things that you sell in the places that you sell them, you're going to then show up in the Google searches. If you do not have these pages, if you do not take these troops and put them into these battles, guess what's going to happen? You're not going to show up in search. And if you don't show up in search, you've lost a major opportunity to generate leads. Okay, there's three kinds of pages: core pages, the ones that are in the main navigation of your website. And then we've got service area pages and blog pages. I want to focus in on this one. Service area pages, optimized for specific geo keyword pairs. they're going to drive traffic. So let me go back over here to this website and I will show you what I'm talking about. Okay, we'll go here to Sugarman's Bath. We'll go to the top. We'll look at the service areas and pay careful attention to this. Here's what you're going to see. You're going to see a directory of different areas that they service. I'll go to Chula Vista. When you go to Chula Vista, you'll see that we've got 6 different kinds of keywords. We've got tub to shower conversions, full shower, shower to tub, and then we've got full bathtub, step through, and walk-in bathtubs. These are the geo keyword pairs. Chula Vista, and then these keywords. So if I go to tub to showers, here's what you're going to see. You're going to see a page that is dedicated very specifically to Chula Vista tub to shower conversion. This entire page is dedicated to Chula Vista tub to shower conversion. We're putting lots of signals on this page so that Google knows precisely what this page is relevant for and where this page is relevant. This is what we call the geo keyword pair. And as we do this, here's what will happen. People who are in Chula Vista who type into the keyword search, and I'll show you this. I'll go and I'll do an incognito search. Watch this. Chula Vista, California, tub to shower conversion. And guess what's going to come up in the search results? Sugarman's Bath. This is a incognito window. It doesn't take into account my search history. And here's what happens. People will land on this page. This is the page I was just showing you. If you want to prepare yourself against a recession, a downturn in business, then you absolutely, positively must start putting these troops into the battles right now, because it's going to take a minute, number one, to get them into the battle. It takes time, effort, and energy to get these pages constructed and put on your website. And then it takes a minute for Google to index them and start showing them in the results. But if you do, it's going to work. Look at this map. This is San Diego. We're going to put troops in the battle. Chula Vista, troops in the battle. La Mesa, El Cajon, Lakeside, Poway, Rancho, Santa Fe, Encinitas. We're putting troops into all these battles, and here's what happens. These now show up on the first page of search, and you get leads, organic leads. And guess what happens? When the downturn comes, potentially in the next year or two, these troops are staying in these battles and will continue to deliver leads to you no matter what the economy is. There might be fewer overall leads, but if you're getting a higher percentage of them, what do you care? Run the numbers. If you're getting 10 organic leads a month now, you should be getting 100. Let's say 50 conservatively. That means you're missing 40. If your average sale is $15,000 and your closing ratio is 30%, that means that there's $180,000 a month that you're missing by not properly optimizing your website and having these troops into the battle. $180,000 a month that you are losing by not doing what I'm talking about right now. Okay, so that's where we're going to end up today. I know it's a lot of information. Here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. A couple of things. Number one, visit any of our partner sponsors that we talked about earlier. Number two, if you'd like us to do the free website audit and see how you're doing in terms of actually creating a website that has the right troops and the right troops in place, and also identity in place, fill out the form, request the free website audit, and we will take a look. We'll meet with you. It'll be about a 1-hour call. Or if you'd like to have us help you with your media, you can email me directly, rich@level10contractor.com. And I'd be happy to discuss that with you. Right now, if anybody has any questions, you can input them into the questions part of the console, and I'll take any questions. If you don't have any questions, then we'll be done with the webinar. So let's see if we've got any questions. I don't see any yet. I see one from a guy named Brian. I know who that is. I'm not going to take that question. Okay, any chats here? Anyone? Okay, I don't see any questions, so I guess we'll go ahead and end the webinar. I will be replaying this on the podcast next week. Also, we'll be sending out a video version of this after we place it on YouTube, so I look forward to talking to you then. Thanks so much. Talk to you next time.